he will try and finish off everything in that 1.5 hours. So I cannot kind of overemphasize exercise in the form of sport or something like swimming, which is one of the most complete exercises that a child can have.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you rightly said, that during COVID, I think a lot of people forgot that physical activities also, everyone got
30% rise in obesity in our patients, 30% increase in the cases of obese frank just after COVID.
I feel a lot of small children are more obsessed with their mobile phones, tags, gadgets.
Screen time, again, you brought up a very, very important point. When a kid walks into my room, most of the time when they're above 7 or 8 years of age, they're glued to their phone. They don't look at me. When I ask them questions, they don't answer. I have to often like try and get their attention. And I think put the phone down. The parents should be particular about not giving that phone. But sometimes for the parents, it's a crutch because they've forgotten parenting. And it's just more convenient to put the phone and keep the child quiet.
Yeah.
So the screen time restricted to 1 hour a day on 5 days of the week, Monday to Friday, 2 hours on Sunday. And this screen time includes mobile, iPad, TV, everything put together.
Yeah.
That automatically increases time for exercise and other activities. And there's one more thing called unstructured playtime. I know kids of 2 years and they don't want those fancy toys that fun school toys or whatever, the Fisher Price toys that their parents have bought them. But the Amazon boxes which have come in the packaging, you give it to them. Avoid plastics, it's a risk, but otherwise just the boxes. And they have a gala time over the next 2 hours just playing with that box. And I've seen that unstructured play is often another way to increase their creativity and imagination rather than only those typical toys that you think a 3 to 7 year old should have.
Yeah. And also, one very important question I would like to ask you is that what is the role of a safe mental environment or a safe environment for children's immunity at home?
It's a cross ventilation.
Yeah.
Okay? And everybody is not privileged enough to have their own children's room or separate rooms for children. So everybody, depending on the socioeconomic status, in many families, the parents and children stay in the same room in a joint family. So you cannot specify about how much space they need, but stress on cross ventilation, no carpets. Pets should not stay in the same room as the child. At least for sleeping, should separate the two things. Yeah. And having an AC on the entire night is a big disaster because I've seen that a lot of kids land up with chronic diseases like sinusitis or rhinobronchitis because they are sleeping continuously. And after 2-3 a.m., when the body temperature falls and the BMR reduces, these are the kids that develop colds. Yeah. They're struggling to find a blanket to sleep in the night, too lazy to get up to put out the AC. So have a timer. If you want to use an AC, also put a timer. Yeah. So small things.
Yeah. And so, because you're every child's favorite doctor to go to, what is the message that you would like to give to today's children?
Parents or children?
Parents and children both. Goes hand in hand.
I think so. For the older children, yes, directly to them, but for the parent, is balance out a healthy diet.
Yeah.
Have a cheat day and enjoy a burger, maybe once or twice a month or this sort of. But it can't be your daily order from Swiggy, Zomato with bigger kids for sure. So balanced diet, occasional cheating, everybody wants. So, second thing is some form of regular exercise. Yeah. Like see my Fitbit. I can show you my steps. Yes. I just looked at it. I've done 11,000 steps a day for this year. Yeah. I'm happy. So this is a motivator. The days when I'm not reaching my target, I know that it pushes me to just do a little extra. Yeah. So I think a combination of this and having good extracurricular activities which may be related to a sport or musical instrument or something else but which may be non-academic. I think that's the ideal environment in the child thrives and grows up with a good immunity. Yeah. And make sure that the vaccinations are on time. Yeah. From the parents' point of view and for the older kids, they have to keep track of it. Yeah. And in case, periodic visits to the doctor. When you go for the vaccination, also check for vitamin D, iron and other things. Yeah. Sometimes girls go into iron deficiency because they've been having excessively heavy periods. So we have to make sure that they get their iron supplement. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Your expertise has been really useful to us, and I'm sure it's going to be a good revision for parents who have these common queries about their children's immunity.
And I'm sure children would love following your advice. Thank you so much for being on board with us. Yes.
It was a pleasure being. All this is also the kind of environment that you provide at home. You have parents who are so obsessed with cleanliness that they use that hand sanitizer, they wash their hands before everything. And you notice that these kids paradoxically fall sick more than them.
True.
So I would say, okay, cleanliness is important, but overdoing it and washing your child's hands with hand sanitizer every time he touches something outside the house goes to a level of paranoia that leads to even diseases like, let's say, eczema, atopic dermatitis, which are it's called the hygiene hypothesis, where paradoxically excessive hygiene leads to more disease in children, and it's becoming more common, especially among the affluent classes in India.
Like you rightly pointed, a lot of important factors like about diet. We're really missing out on very important things which get us back to our roots. Rather, we're going through a lot of processed food and milks, and all of these things are already laden with chemicals these days. And like you said about helicopter parents, it's a very important thing about a safe environment to provide at home.
And another factor that I missed out is exercise. I think but so many kids are just running from tuition to tuition. They're playing abacus, Vedic maths, this drawing class, and they're running in an AC car from place to place. Then AC, non-AC, non-AC, AC.
Yeah.
And they get colds and they get sinusitis. The second factor is they don't have time to do any proper sport or exercise. And I think getting your child into a sport early is another amazing way of building up discipline as well as immunity.
True.
Because and it can be a competitive or non-competitive sport, but he or she should go for 1 or 2 hours on a daily basis.
True.
Because a homework can stretch over 4 hours, but if a child is doing the exercise and coming back after a sport, he will try and finish off everything in that 1.5 hours. So I cannot kind of overemphasize exercise in the form of sport or something like swimming, which is one of the most complete exercises that a child can have.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you rightly said, that during COVID, I think a lot of people forgot that physical activities also, everyone
30% rise in obesity in our patients, 30% increase in the cases of obesity, just after COVID.
I feel a lot of small children are more obsessed with their mobile phones, tabs, gadgets.
Screen time. Again, you brought up a very, very important point. When a kid walks into my room, most of the time when they're above 7 or 8 years of age, they're glued to their phone. They don't look at me. When I ask them questions, they don't answer. I have to often try and get their attention. And I think put the phone down. The parents should be particular about not giving that phone. But sometimes for the parents, it's a crutch because they've forgotten parenting. And it's just more convenient to put the phone and keep the child quiet.
Yeah.
So the screen time restricted to 1 hour a day on 5 days of the week, Monday to Friday, 2 hours on Sunday. And this screen time includes mobile, iPad, TV, everything put together.
Yeah.
That automatically increases time for exercise and other activities. And there's one more thing called unstructured playtime. I know kids of 2 years and they don't want those fancy toys that fun school toys or whatever, the Fisher Price toys that their parents have bought them. But the Amazon boxes which have come in the packaging, you give it to them. Avoid plastics, it's a risk, but otherwise just the boxes. And they have a
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Meghna Singh, practicing dermatologist, and welcome to the series called Talk with the Expert. Today we have Dr. Deepak Tirthani sir, who's a stalwart pediatrician himself, and he is every child and parent's favorite doctor. Hello sir, welcome to the show.
Hi.
How are you sir?
All good.
So sir, on today's series, we want to discuss about children's immunity and various roles associated with that. So as per most parents' question, what is the most natural way that parents can build their children's immunity?
So when every parent that comes to me, this is a prime question because whether they're coming for a sickness or for a vaccination, they will always talk about how do I build my child's immunity? And we have to explain that there's no magic pill, which often they are seeking a magic pill or a simple solution, but it's not so simple because if you want to build your child's immunity, it has to be a multi-pronged kind of approach, which will include four, five things, and we'll try and discuss them in a little more detail maybe later. One is obviously the food that the child eats. So the second is creating a kind of environment where the child is nurtured in a way that his immune system is also, functioning at its peak. The third thing is proper vaccination or immunization. And the last part would be other kind of factors that may come in, which would be if the child is suffering from a kind of any deficiency, then you cover up from that, especially vitamin D. It becomes more and more important where immunity is concerned. So these four things, like the nutraceutical part of it, would come last, according to me, but it often forms an important part in case there's something missing.
Yeah. So, sir, what role does diet and everything?
Diets nowadays, most kids, if you see, love the junk food.
Yeah.
They're very happy if they get a pasta. I know for every kid, pasta is God.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you obviously cannot survive on, white sauce and maide ka pasta. So I always tell parents, try and avoid the white foods. That is your maida, white rice, bread, biscuits, noodles, because these are just going to be maida clogging up your child's gut, causing constipation and no nutritional value. So whole wheat products, if you have to use, multigrains, good. The millets, ragi, there's more and more emphasis all over. We have the Prime Minister's National Program on millets going on. It's so important, the importance of jawar, bajri, ragi nachni. And in the traditional diets, I think we people have gone so far from our roots.
True.
You go to, Bihar, you can get your, the local flour that they use, and sattu, and, all those things. You go to the south and you've got ragi mudda and the laddus. And so in every place, millets were a part till we forgot that and went on to processed food. So eliminate processed foods, things like your, cheese balls and pepper and lays and all that thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, is a mixture of junk, over processed food with artificial colors. And I say artificial colors are the enemy of immunity. If a child is going to be taking, Oreo cookies and for their lunch, for their breakfast package in school, then he's only having 17 chemicals packaged together in an attractive shell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So incorporate traditional foods, incorporate millets, incorporate vegetables, green leafy vegetables. See, fiber is a very important part, and almost half my patients are constipated. Half is a big number.
Sure.
And this hard stool comes from two factors: forgotten how to drink water, they've forgotten how to eat fiber.
Yeah.
They look at a green leafy vegetable as if it's come from outer space. So we have to make sure that they include vegetables, green leafy vegetables in the diet, and fruits also which contain high fiber. Oats is another big source of fiber that can be included in the diet. So if a child with a good immunity is a child who's having a proper diet, who is properly, vaccinated. For example, the flu vaccine every year. Parents often consider, why should I get my child immunized every year of the flu vaccine? Such a thing to come. But no, your flu contains the strains that are kind of prevalent, and the WHO decides which strains are prevalent. And when you immunize against that, you at least get 70 to 80% protection against four important flu viruses which are circulating. And we have the northern and southern hemisphere, so we know which one to use. It's important that your doctor decides for you to be the best vaccine to take.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes we can ask for tests, because if your child is looking pale, for example, many kids are pale because they drink too much milk, and milk messes up the immunity because it's got one of the poorest sources of two things: iron and vitamin D.
Okay.
So these are the two most common supplements that I would use rather than a generic multivitamin. बच्चे को tonic वॉनिक दे दो.
True.
Some people say tonic binic दे देना, but no, I mean be specific. Your child is low in iron. Your iron levels are low if you've done it, and you've done iron studies or vitamin D levels, because it's better to quantify how much lower is your vitamin D, and then give the supplements accordingly for vitamin D.
Yeah.
And the last factor to complete all this is also the kind of environment that you provide at home. You have parents who are so obsessed with cleanliness that they use the hand sanitizer, they wash